Welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Finally got the second camera up. And then we got this GoPro recording. And then we got the screen recordings because I apparently wanted to do that today while I was thinking about recording tonight. This is the Constitutionals Podcast. If you didn't know, I'm adjusting my mic. Also, it's a premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Here we are again. Is that the air blowing? I have these soundproof headphones on, so now I hear everything. Let's get into it. Let's get into the Constitution. Hold on. I have more recently. Let's see what I've been doing. Before I jump into things, let's see what I've been doing. Let's see. I've been working, and I've been working out, trying to catch up on my shows. It's not happening. I just got Xbox Live Ultimate again, so I got Game Pass and Xbox Live, So today I downloaded 3 games. NHL. Actually, I had that for gold, but NHL and NHL 19. I didn't even like hockey, but it was with gold, so great. I like hockey's fine. NHL 19. Let's see what else. Middle Earth: Shadow of War, and there was another game I downloaded that I can't remember for the life of me. I think it might have been Outer Worlds. I don't know. I don't remember. But I'm excited to play all 3 of those games. It's gonna be great fun time. It cost me $1 to start this plan back up, and then after that, $15 a month. And I will not be doing that because I am short on cash. There's somebody's excited to do that. I don't know why I did the top of the show. Let's move on to the rest of the show. Okay. First story up. This comes from Engadget. Disney Plus app availability. I know I have been talking about, for a guy who doesn't like Disney that much, to talk about Disney so much, or Netflix, to talk about Disney or Netflix so much, it's just beyond me. So here we go. Let's hop right back into it. This comes from Engadget, written by Edgar Alvarez. Follow him on Twitter at ABCEdgar. We'll see how this article works out. That was a pretty good accent that was a pretty good micro accent. Disney Plus and Android TV. Disney Plus will have apps for iOS, Apple TV, Android, and Xbox One. It'll also be launching in Canada, Netherlands, Australia, and New Zealand for now. Then it'll be a worldwide app. So we know that Disney Plus is coming November 12th, and that's quickly coming up. It's a fast approaching date. Let's move the microphone here. It's a fast approaching date, and fast approaching date, and we are waiting to see what this is like. I have said it before. I didn't want another streaming service. And then they took The Simpsons away from FXX, and they're going to put it on Freeform and Disney Plus. And now I'm pissed because I only own three seasons of The Simpsons. DVDs are hard to come by. Only some of the seasons are on Blu-ray. I believe everything like after they released 18 has Fat Tony on the front. I believe everything after 15 or 16 is Blu-ray. Who knows if they'll do 19 because they stopped doing the DVDs at some point because the sales weren't there for Fox, I guess, because the Simpsons people they'll do the DVDs till the end of time, but the sales weren't there for Fox, and then people were just so mad they rallied around and they said, we want Simpsons DVDs, dang it. And Fox said, just keep buying. And that's why they don't have, they stopped making DVDs. I think around before when the Blu-rays came, they stopped making the DVDs. And then they just came back with, I think 17 and 18, something like that. They released 20 in honor of the 20th season 10 years ago, in honor of the movie as well. But they didn't have any special features on it except for one, and it was like an animatic for the film, animatic trailer or something like that. So yeah, I look forward to buying those on DVDs. But until then, we're gonna have to deal with The Simpsons on Disney Plus. They're gonna have original series like the Mandalorian, which is like it's a Star Wars show from Jon Favreau. Every season of The Simpsons and Disney's entire movie library. You know, they keep mentioning that. I keep seeing that around with these articles, and I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think that there's going to be all of the movies. I think some of obviously the more problematic ones, like where the racist crows and all that, that's all going to be gone. Anything that deals with race or anything, all the Mickey Mouses, anything that has Mickey Mouse like being a little bit racist, that's not going to happen. I wonder if Warner's going to do that for HBO Max. I wonder if HBO Max... No, because there's going to be a different service, right? There's going to be HBO Max and something else? Or it's just going to be HBO Max? I wonder if HBO Max is going to have Looney Tunes. And because we know it's going to have a Scooby-Doo show, but it's going to have all the Looney Tunes. Is it going to have Looney Tunes where they're fighting Nazis and stuff? I think Daffy was fighting Nazis or something. So Disney Plus is going to come to quote unquote your favorite smart TVs, phones, laptops, tablets, and game consoles. The only devices that we knew were Roku and Sony PlayStation 4, but now we know it's going to be coming to iOS. Obviously, Apple TV, obviously Android TV, which was up in the air. Yeah, there's not that many Android TV set-top boxes out there, but the biggest selling one is the NVIDIA Shield TV, which is a breakaway from the NVIDIA Shield tablet, which RIP. And Google Chromecast, obviously, and Xbox One, which is a surprise to me. I didn't know that it was coming to PS4. So if it's coming to PS4, it's definitely coming to Xbox One. But regardless of that, I didn't know it was going to have console apps. And I think that's a very important distinction for them to have console apps. Like I said, if it doesn't come to the consoles, then there's no way for a lot of people to watch it, including myself, because that's the only thing I'm thinking of right now is myself. It doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to have a video app in today's age, why not go to the best-selling console, which is the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One, which is not the best-selling, but it's the best console anywhere, except for the Switch. On Apple's devices in particular, Disney says people can subscribe to a streaming service via in-app purchase, which is a thing which is bad. Which is bad for Disney, because that means if people sign up via inside the app, they're going to have to pay a hefty sum to Apple, which is why Netflix, they don't allow you to do that. A lot of apps, it's like Netflix, the Tinder, I believe, but don't ask me how I know. But a lot of these apps, they say they don't want to do in-app purchases or in-app subscriptions, because ongoing subscriptions like that, they have to pay, a certain amount of money to Apple for that. And Google's having the same issue, so it's not just an Apple thing. And then, of course, we'll have... excuse me, Jesus. I can hear the crackle in the mic. And then, of course, we'll have the Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus all coming together for $12.99 in a bundle. So that's going to be great to see. You can also buy this stuff in a year, which is something you can't do for Netflix or Hulu, but you can do for Amazon, for Disney Now, and a few others. But you can purchase the subscription in a year capacity. For instance, for Canada, it's going to be $8.99 per month or $89.99 per year, which it works out to be like 70. I don't know. I'm not good at math. And then, of course, Disney Plus is going to expand to different countries. But that's all we got. It's going to come to everything, which is good, even though I'm not a huge supporter of Disney. But it coming to everything is going to be very important for Disney moving forward. If it doesn't come to Android. I remember when the Google store, when that started, and it had, not when it started, but when Google's, I don't even think it was called the Play Store, it was just called the Google App Store or something like that. When the App Store and the Google Play Store, when they were just, essentially just two competing stores, because now they're kind of homogenous. There's not that many apps that are exclusive to iOS. I mean, if they are, then, whatever. But I remember when it was just like those stores, and then Amazon's App Store, which still exists for some reason, and Microsoft's App Store, you had to you had to develop for all 4 different stores if you wanted to be successful. Or if you wanted to be successful and you didn't want to develop for all the stores, you develop only for the iOS store. And then that's why there's a lot of stuff and it's just easier to develop for the iOS. Plain and simple. iOS, and then iOS is just something you pick up and grab. It always makes me, like, whenever someone is handling my phone, they're always, I don't have it in here, but they're always looking around like, where's the power button? Where's the power button? I always think about this. Me being, I don't want to say tech enthusiast because that's the douchiest thing ever, but me being somebody who is into technology and reads reviews and watches videos and all this stuff, I can look at any phone and then go and just like I know where the power button is. Like, and there's a lot of people like that who just know where power buttons are and know how things work, know how to get to the cameras and all that stuff. But then, someone who has an iPhone, who has an Apple Watch, who has a MacBook, but they don't know technology. They just have this stuff because it's popular to have. And you hand them an Android phone, you hand them a Roku remote. I don't know why I said Roku. You hand them an Android TV remote, like an NVIDIA Shield TV remote. You hand them anything that's outside of the Apple ecosystem, then they're gonna freeze up. Speaking of Apple, their credit card came out. The Apple credit card came out, and it is notoriously bad for anybody who is poor. So that's basically everybody who has an iPhone. Not basically everybody. It's everybody who makes less than 6 figures, I guess. Who is excited to get that card? I saw it and I thought, ooh, boy, a lot of money at Apple. Okay, let's move on. This next story is a twofer from the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline. Hasbro acquires indie studio E1 in $4 billion deal. That's not the story, but that is breaking news right now. The first story comes from the Hollywood Reporter, written by Stephen Galloway. As Annapurna, he has his own section on Hollywood Reporter, apparently called Galloway on Film. As Annapurna teeters, why are so many rooting for Megan Ellison to fail? Now, if you don't know, Megan Ellison is the head of Annapurna Pictures, and I have to look up their movies. But they have a lot of wonderful movies. I did an episode of News Time. If you don't know what News Time is, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. But News Time is a weekly news show I do over there on youtube.com/comedy. And it's and every episode is a different topic. And one God, I don't know. Let me see. Now I have to find it. I should have had this up. I was thinking I should bring up all the links I need up, but I didn't. Anyway, Annapurna Pictures was started 8 years ago by Megan Ellison, who is the daughter of Larry Ellison. I believe that is his name. Megan Ellison is, by all means, a very nice person. And yeah, Larry Ellison. And she has a brother named David Ellison. I believe everybody is in the film business. And she's a producer, a big-time producer. However, she has an amazing... Annapurna is an amazing distribution house. It's an amazing production house. And it has some of the best indies of the since its conception, since everything. It has some of the best indies. Let me just name you some of the movies. The Master, Zero Dark 30, Spring Breakers, American Hustle, Foxcatcher, Joy, which, Sausage Party, 20th Century Women, Detroit, Phantom Thread, If Beale Street Could Talk, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Vice, The Sisters Brothers. And those 4 in the last year alone, and they were all recognized for awards, except for The Sisters Brothers. If Beale Street Could Talk should have been nominated for Best Picture. Missing Link, Booksmart, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, Hustlers. There's 2 more upcoming movies, and they've already released 4 this year. Yeah, I can count 4. So wonderful films. However, just because you have good films does not mean it translates to good money. Which in today's age, like if this happened, if these movies existed, 15, 20 years ago, they would be swimming in the money. If every single one of those movies, 20th Century Women, if Beale Street could talk, Phantom Thread, I don't know Phantom Thread, but if these movies push I don't want to say push the envelope, but they do. They really they push the envelope for, I said I didn't want to say it. God, they push the envelope for how good a movie can be. But when Booksmart came out this year, there were already issues with Annapurna not making money. But when a movie like Booksmart comes out and it's got Olivia Wilde attached to it, and it's got two great stars, it just doesn't stack up. So about 10 months ago, I did an episode of News Time called so when a movie like Booksmart comes out and doesn't do well monetarily, but it does well critically, it doesn't help them at all. So anyway, I did an episode of News Time called The Agonizingly Perilous Week of an Ailing Annapurna Pictures. Very good. In October of 2018, we talked about how Jesus, Chad, how movie studios like A24 and Blumhouse, all of these niche movie studios that have these wonderful, critically acclaimed films, and how they're successful, and how Annapurna is not. And so definitely check that out. I think I should link that on the show notes, please. Please, Daddy. Oh God. Oh yeah, this is the intro. I'm particularly fond of the cold open I did, because I did it as a trailer to the Colin Powell movie, but I was shirtless and naked for most of it, which I love. Shirtless, naked Chad. I should not go quiet as I'm typing. Let me just type this down. So apparently, oh my God, the camera just stopped. Okay, hold on. So apparently there are people that are rooting for what's her face, Megan Ellison, to, I don't want to say fail, but rooting for her to not be as successful. And I don't understand. And apparently this guy starting this article off, Stephen Galloway, he says, the first thing he even says is Megan Ellison is a pain in the neck. She's from a reporter's point of view, she's aloof, unconcerned with branding, as secretive as the Kremlin. She's all the worst creatures. She's the worst of all creatures when it comes to dealing with the press, someone who has no desire for press. Then why do I admire her so much? Yeah, it's probably because of all the things she does, all the movies that she's been made. And Megan's getting, talked down. Like Larry Ellison is, he's kind of reticent because her dad, Larry Ellison is kind of reticent because he's been giving her this money. He's been funding Annapurna, and yet it's not churning back any money for him. Which, fine, I understand, but you're a rich mogul, a rich movie mogul, and this is whatever. Her brother David gets none of the same flack, and he owns her. Like I said, David, they're all part of the movie business. David has Skydance. He runs Skydance, which is known for Mission Impossible, True Grit, World War Z, Mission Impossible Fallout. Excuse me. None of them life-changing. Excuse me, Stephen Galloway? Mission Impossible Fallout is the most life-changing film I've ever seen in my life. Mission Impossible Fallout is the greatest movie. I just had to restart the camera. And so I guess Galloway in this article is basically defending Megan Ellison, and saying that she doesn't deserve any of the anger that's coming, animosity that's coming towards her. Over on the Deadline side of things, Mike Fleming Jr. and Dominic Patton have written Annapurna update. Megan Ellison's company nearly out of the woods. Last and final offer made to banks. So the issue here is that Annapurna is quickly losing money, and they need people to give them money. And Larry Ellison isn't going to be able to foot the entire bill. Here it is. Sources said that Ellison's father, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, has submitted a, quote, last and final offer to pay Annapurna's key lenders, offering between 80 cents to 85 cents on the dollar. This is for a debt sources place at north of $200 million that the company defaulted on through its $350 million credit facility secured in fall 2017. The credit facility was to be replenished by receivables, which weren't nearly enough to service the debt. Now, this is reminiscent of, without being too on the nose, this is kind of reminiscent of what happened with MoviePass. MoviePass, they had issues with debt and creditors too, but for them, they were able to survive so long because Mitch Lowe, CEO, who also helped start Netflix, I think Amazon or Facebook was one of those. He was able to, and he and his team, were able to get MoviePass to continue by extending their line of credit somehow. But I don't think their credit was as much as Annapurna, but it might be comparable, which is important because MoviePass was also, they've been around the longest. They've probably had a bigger name. They're done. They were around for they couldn't have been longer than that, longer than them at least. But they do have a comparable name. They presumably had a lot more. You know what? No, they couldn't have had many more lenders. So maybe it's just the name, but they were also, upon being a ticketing service, a ticketing purchase service, they were also trying to be a movie studio, and they released one movie. They were going to release multiple movies, but they released one movie, which that's weird. Like, what if AMC, the theater chain, put out a movie? They just fired 35 of their corporate people today or this week. What if Adobe started producing, I don't know, YouTube tech reviews? Deadline broke the story of the tug-of-war between Ellison Home Office and the banks August 7th. After Deadline's story, Megan Ellison quickly issued an internal note that was spread to the trades, which characterized the situation as almost a blip on the radar, telling staffers that her commitment was as strong as ever. She has long been a benefactor in a segment of the movie business in need of one, empowering films from Zero Dark 30 to The Master to most recently the Adam McKay directed Vice. But contingency plans were in place for a Chapter 11 filing, sources said, and some suspect that Ellison will scale back her ambitions and become involved with fewer projects. That was required once the company put a full marketing and distribution operation in place. And you can kind of see that they were stretched to the gills, especially this year. Booksmart, Missing Link, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, and Hustlers. One of those did not do well at all, and it's Hustlers. And then last year, the super indie Sisters Brothers, the Under the Radar, If Beale Street Could Talk, the Netflix-bound Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and the Academy Award-winning Vice. I think Ballad of Buster Scruggs won awards too, and I think If Beale Street Could Talk won an Academy Award. We'll definitely see. I'm pretty sure Ballad of Buster Scruggs won because it's a Coen Brothers movie, and it was very white, and people love that. I like the Coen Brothers. I like them a lot. Very white. Yeah, they won Best Supporting Actress with Regina King. Beale Street Could Talk, and Phantom Thread I think won Best Film or something like that. Detroit was good, and Bad Batch was fine. And also when you're looking at this Wikipedia film, the Wikipedia entry, you can see that every single movie that they release is a co-production, with the exception of 20th Century Women, The Bad Batch, and uncredited Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Booksmart's not notated. Every other movie is a co-production, which means that they're not putting up the entire bill. They're putting up what they can. But when a movie doesn't do that well, then you see the issue when the movie is not doing that well, then it could be a movie that just is amazing and it's great and people love it, but it's just not, they're not able to put it in as many theaters as a Spider-Man would be able to go to a theater, or a Mission Impossible would be able to go to a theater. You're not going to be able to put a movie in as many theaters like Booksmart. I can go down the street and watch it at the art theater, but not everybody can do that. Some people only have Regals or AMC's or United Artists if they're still in business. Okay. Let's look at Where'd You Go, Bernadette, their most recent release. The film finished its opening weekend with a $3.4 million gross on 2,404 screens, results that won't change the current narrative. See, if every movie was made $1 billion, then every movie would be special. That's not part of the article. That was just my thought. And I looked down at my fingers and wrapped the wire, the headphone wire around it as if I was like a kid in trouble. Like, oh gosh. Sources in banking circles said that had Annapurna been placed in Chapter 11, the syndicate of senior lenders might only have gotten 50 cents to 60 cents on the dollar. And then, that's Larry Ellison said he would give back up to 80 to 85. So it makes some money back, but not all of it. I feel bad for Megan. She's made some great films, and it sucks that it's going this way, but hopefully they're not just talking out their butts. There is something in place. And finally, this is the last story coming over there from, how long have we been doing this? 27 minutes. Coming from Variety. Now, this is not typically something I do. But before I get into that, I do want to mention one thing because it did pop in my head when I kept saying tech reviewers. I listened to a podcast called 1A over there on the NPR, and it is hosted by Joshua Johnson. Very great podcast. It takes one topic, talks about it every day, and then on Fridays they do a weekly news roundup. Joshua Johnson is a great interviewer. I think he is who's the guy that does the First We Feast Hot Ones. Sean, his name is Sean. He's the bald white guy named Sean. I believe that I think Sean needs to stop doing a show, period. Give it to somebody else who's a better interviewer, and in his time away, he should listen to Joshua Johnson, or he should go watch literally any host. Stephen Colbert, James Corden, Jimmy Kimmel. Listen to another podcast, Larry Wilmore's podcast. Listen to Jamil Hill's podcast. Listen to Scott Aukerman's podcast. Listen to literally any other. Just listen and watch and go look at people, study them, because he's Sean Evans, I think that's his last name. He's a horrible interviewer, and I will say it to his face. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's cool. I think he has a lot of knowledge about food, but by God, he's the worst interviewer I've seen in my life. Okay. Joshua Johnson is this week yesterday he interviewed Marquise Brownlee, MKBHD, over there on the show. MKBHD is I would say the most popular tech reviewer on YouTube. His videos look good. He has all the latest gear and stuff, and cameras and phones and all that stuff. And then that's kind of he has a Tesla. He's made money off of YouTube that no one else has. And that's kind of where the detriment is. I'm going to be very respectful. I don't want to crap talk him like I just crap talk Sean Evans, because I have a lot of respect for him, for this Marquise Brownlee. But one of the issues, and this was pointed out to me, I was reading comments online. Somebody said, and this is like years ago, somebody said this, that he only does like the surface level stuff. So like he'll read off I don't have any electronics near me. He'll read off the just the facts about this digital recorder that's in my hand. He'll say it's an Olympus recorder. It holds AAA batteries. It's got a stand. It's got a hold button. You can start, stop, record. You can erase. You can have 5 folders on here. It's the VN721 PC. And he'll just read all the facts about it. And then he'll do that. And over the course of the video, he'll talk about what's good and what's bad. And then it doesn't happen all the time, but for a lot of it, it's just that. It's just that. He doesn't really get into how or why or what. It's just like surface level stuff. And he does that, for a 7 to 10 to 13 minute video, which is great for the person who types in Galaxy Note 10 review on YouTube. And then they see this video and it's got a great thumbnail and it's got, 10 million views, and you can click on that and it'll be great. But there are people like Mobile Tech Review or a Dave 2D who really get into the nitty gritty. Flossie Carter, I guess I would consider him this. Flossie Carter is this giant buff black dude who's like in his 40s. He's got a family and he has a cat that always sits in on his reviews, and he has a camera pointed down at a picnic table, and he's reviewing whatever the thing is he's reviewing, and it's always like a 30-minute video, and he talks about literally everything. And I know that for people like MKBHD or for John Rettinger or for Mr. Mobile, for a lot of them, it's not. Well, I'm not going to include Mr. Mobile in that because he's really, really good at what he does. But it's for like John Rettinger and MKBHD. For a lot of them, it's not possible for them to really dig into the minutia because they are doing a 5, 10, sometimes 12, 13-minute video. Whereas everybody else, they don't have time constraints or they don't put time constraints on themselves. But for like Mobile Tech Review or Mobile Tech Arena or whatever it is, they're able to give you numbers down to the T. They're able to tell you why the screen runs at 130 nits and what nits are and I don't know, and RAM management, and talk about that for 15 minutes and that's just one part of the video, and the other 90 minutes are about something else. But that's not really like that, but you get what I'm saying. They're able to take each part and dissect it and then bring it back together and see how it works as a whole. And you got a lot of reviewers out there that just their videos look great. And they have bright personalities, which is also a detriment. But they have bright personalities, and they're able to get Samsung or Apple or Google or Vizio or LG to send them the TV, the phone, the keyboard, the whatever, the laptop, but that's great. That's one section, but then there's a deeper section I think is better. And Joshua interviewed, all that's to say, Joshua interviewed in KBHD this week, and a listener called in and said, he had very specific criteria for a laptop. He said, I don't want to get a MacBook. I want a Windows PC. I don't want a Chromebook. I need to be under $500, and I need to do this, and this. And Marquise, God bless him, or Marquez, God bless him. He said, I don't know what you should get because I really only look at the high end stuff. And I think as a reviewer, you don't have to know everything, but I think it is your responsibility to have backups, to know exactly when someone says, when someone comes to you, because you're technically an expert, you're a tech expert, technically an expert, tech expert. Hey, that's a good one. Gotta write that down, but I'm on a roll. When someone comes to you and says, you review phones, I need a budget phone. Or you review laptops, I need a budget laptop. You review bikes, I need a cheap bike, or I need the most expensive bike. I think you should be able to cover that entire spectrum. If I want to be a television writer, I have got to know how to not just do comedy, but also do drama. It doesn't make sense to know one part of the job. And I think that any tech reviewer worth their weight would have been able to say, and off the top of my head, I'm a person who does not have a lot of tech. As you can see, my laptop is 5 years old, I believe. The GoPro Hero 3, I don't even have, I think they're on 8 now. I have a Canon T3i. No, I think it's a T3. It's not even T3i. I have a Canon T3, so that's about 10 years old. So I have an old Vizio 720p TV that was probably out before I was in college. I at the top of my head, the guy said, I want this and this and this and this. And the first thing that popped in my head was he should get a Surface Go, which is Microsoft's cheapest laptop. It's you can, I think it has like 4 to 6 gigabytes of RAM. You can do so many things with it, and I looked at the price when I got to work as I was listening to this episode, and it was $400 or $500, and that's what the guy wanted. Like it was exactly what the guy wanted. And Marquez just said, I don't know, reviewing high end stuff. That'd be like, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like if you're the tech expert, then you should be able to pull an answer out. His answer was, I would suggest a Chromebook. The guy doesn't want a Chromebook. You should be able to go, okay, this is an alternative. This is the first answer. The runner up would be a Chromebook. I'm just saying. Okay, let's finish this off. This comes from Variety. It's a feature story written by Brett Lang and Todd Spangler. I'm not going to read this because I know where it's going to go, but I will look at the graph. How Conan O'Brien and other top hosts are tapping into the podcast revolution. Apparently, and so this is brought up because this is brought up a long time ago. Oh, not a long time ago, like a week ago. Mark Maron. I was watching Conan's show this morning, and Mark Maron came out. And he had Variety magazine, and on the cover was the feature story, and it had Conan on there, and they're talking about he's created a podcast revolution. Mark Maron he's one of the guys that pioneered podcasting. Him, Guy and Gal, Jimmy Pardo, a bunch of people pioneered podcasting. To have this always happens. To have a trade magazine come out and say this is how podcasting is now different. No, these are charted waters. The podcasting has been around for a long time. You can't come out and say Killing Eve is changing up television. It's not. It's doing great things, but doing it a different way. You don't have to. Oh, that doesn't make sense. But still, I was sounding so good for a couple of minutes here. Oh, the camera just shut off. I guess I should stop at some point. Ow! I hit my lip. So anyway, let's look at this. It's so stupid, and you don't have to read this one because it's not worth it, because it's just going to tell you stuff that you already know, especially if you listen to podcasts or if you've been listening to them for 10, 15. They're not that old, Chad. For 10 years, as long as I have. I've been listening for 8 because I think I started 2 years. No, 3 years. So I've been listening for 7. Right now, this brave new world of audio is mostly filled with as yet unrealized potential. It is not. You can't make money. Podcasting is different. You can't make money. It's different from TV. You can't make money unless you have a trillion listeners and unless you put out 17 episodes a week, which doesn't make sense. Unless you're Joe Rogan, it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to finish that sentence. However, it's finished. However, a swelling listener base and an accelerating migration of major advertising dollars to the platform have led to an influx of investors and technology companies. It's easy to see what excites them. After all, the number of weekly podcast listeners has more than doubled in the past 5 years, from 28 million in 2015 to 62 million in 2019. It's probably all this freaking murder podcast. They talk about Spotify and their acquisitions, iHeartMedia, and all this stuff. By 2021, it is projected that there will be U.S. podcasts ad revenue in hundreds of millions. 1045 by 2021. Right, it's in 106 million in 2015. This year, it's projected to be 679. Next year, it's going to be a little bit more than that. 2021, it's going to almost double, close to double. They interviewed Alex Bloomberg from Gimlet. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so anyway, I truly don't. This is so stupid. But if you look at AV Club, this final article I have from Marnie Shure, and I try not to read essays anymore, or what are they called? Think pieces. I'm not calling essays. I try not to read those things. It's actually got a phone call, a voicemail. Looks like it's spam. The article says what we don't talk about when we talk about the quote-unquote podcast revolution. I don't think She says, let's get this first out of the way. We're not mad at you, Conan, which is true. We're not mad at Conan. This is so stupid. But for that Variety article to go up and say podcast revolution, but she does make a point. She says we're accustomed to by now to seeing the cycle play out. Every few months, a stalwart media outlet will decide it's time once again to educate the audience on this burgeoning medium, and to do so, they typically trace the same tired line from iPods, iTunes to Marin to Serial, which Serial I guess put podcasting on the map, but that was 3 years ago at this point. To the ostensibly exciting but largely unmarketable now. Unmarketable, that is, except for content producers like O'Brien, who signed a, quote, mid-seven-figure deal with Mid-Roll Media to launch his flagship podcast. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that Mid-Roll, the teams behind some of Conoco's podcasting efforts, are staffed by alumni of AV Club's sister publication, The Onion and Clickle. Oh, look at that. Look at him driving the medium forward. That's horrible. This is not Conan's fault. This is for publications like Variety, for trade magazines, for big essays and stuff like this to come out and say that podcasting is a revolution and this and that. It doesn't. It's asinine, truly, and it doesn't make sense for this to even exist. Oh my gosh. If there's something that podcast reporting could use more of in 2019, it's a good faith estimate of the costs involved. Quote unquote, the most popular podcast can make north of $10 million annually, and costs are minimal, often boiling down to renting studio space or paying someone to produce a show. Variety explains. That's patently untrue for scripted podcasts. Well, yeah, that's very untrue. This is now Marnie refuting what Variety is saying. Both fiction and nonfiction, which must also have a team of writers, editors, voice actors, experts, field reporters, and whoever they can hire to beg listeners to rate them on iTunes. Because even the most successful shows are still beholden to Apple's algorithm, which is true. The Constitutionals has 2 ratings, and I believe one of them is mine. And that means nothing in the long run. But I was looking at if you look at Conan's rating on iTunes for Apple Podcasts, I believe they have, this is last week when I looked, but I believe they have something like 6 to 8 million reviews. And those are mostly 5 stars, which means that it's going to go to the top of the charts. If you look at Joe Rogan's podcast, which I believe is the most listened to and the highest rated, I think they have something close to 10, I'm sorry, not million reviews. That's stupid, because that would be as many listeners as they have. It's 6,000 to 8,000 reviews. But if you look at Joe Rogan's podcast, I believe they have 10,000 reviews. If you look at Marin's podcast, close to 8,000. If you look at, some Comedy Bang Bang, I think it's 6,000. So the more reviews you have, the more you're going to stand out. And which means also the more money you're going to get from advertisers. Because, you can go to Hollywood Handbook over on Earwolf, and they're not going to get, that's 2 hosts. I guarantee from ads they make at least $50 to $100. If that, I don't like 100 to 150. Who knows? Probably even less than that. It's probably not. Probably it definitely is less than that. For someone like for people at HeadGum, I guarantee HeadGum, like John Gabrus's podcast, Nicole Pyre's podcast, they're not Jake and Amir. They don't make what I could only assume is $200. From their podcast. Podcasting does not make that much money. The Doughboys, look at them. Unless you're a Patreon driven podcast, you can't make money. That's why everybody's flocking to Patreon. That's why they do Twitch. That's why they do YouTube. That's why they do Instagram. That's why they do Facebook, Twitter. That's how you make money. Can you make money on Twitter? Can you make money on Facebook? It's worth noting, this is from Marty, it's worth noting that Variety has tweaked its headlines since the kerfuffle began. O'Brien is now, quote, tapping into the, quote, podcast revolution, rather than sitting in the driver's seat. Oh, because they probably said he was driving. Oh, my God, that's so stupid. Anyway. This is the ending of the thing. When articles fret about quote unquote podcast overload, parentheses, yes, even our own, what they might actually be worried about is a lack of traditional industry gatekeeping. See, there you go. See, someone like Conan, can get paid $7 million by mid-roll, and he could be locked into doing a certain amount of years. So maybe he's locked in for 2 years. $7 million. Yeah, 2 years. 2 years for podcasting. And I mean, he likes it. Conan likes it. He's admitted that time and time again, because there's no makeup, there's no prep. All he has to do is sit down and talk to somebody. And then Andy's got a podcast, and then two of his writers have a podcast. And it's easy. Before, podcasting is easy to do in concept, or it was, because before you could just sit down with a microphone and then record. And now you have to sit down with a microphone, a camera. You have to be prepared. You have to have, or if you have guests, then you have to have them prepared. They have to sound good. If they don't sound good, people are going to talk about it. You have to have a fan base. You have to have producers. You have to have someone making the show sound even better than a $500 microphone can make it sound. If you have video's got to sync up the thing. You chunk out clips. You got to have social media presence. You got to have all this stuff that cannot fly in today's. And what am I saying? Anyway, you got to. Podcasting's hard when it comes down to it. Podcasting is difficult. All right. Oh, it's 9:00. Jesus, I gotta go to bed. Listen, that's the Constitutional Podcast. If you like what you heard here, head on over to the website, cplscomedy.com, where there's a couple interviews. I swear on my life, by the time you listen to this show, they will both be up. Kimmy Gatewood and Rebecca Johnson from Glow, both comedians. They're on Glow. They play the Ozone, Nuke, and Ozone and Nuke, and then the Bantam Biddies. They play those characters. They're the blonde one and the dark-haired one that you see, and they always hang out together on the show. So they're in every episode, so check it out. And then what else is going on? Head on over if you want to see a video version of this podcast, head over to the website, cplscomedy.com, as well as youtube.com/cplscomedy. See a video version, all 40 something minutes of it. And then you can also watch News Time. I'm sorry, my computer is 2 seconds away from dying. Watch News Time. This week's episode is the gray market and video game buying. So there's a website called G2A where you can buy video game keys, but they're not entirely legal. But no one's stopping them from doing this. So, and they're cheap. So you can buy like PlayStation Plus subscriptions, Xbox One games, it's all different types of stuff, controllers, accessories. So definitely check it out. It was produced at last minute, but I love it. And that's it. That's all I got for you. That's the Constitutionalist Podcast. My arm hurts. I got an HPV shot today, and I lifted it earlier, and it really hurts right now. So I'm going to go eat some cereal and ice it before I go to bed in 20 minutes. Thank you for listening. I very much appreciate it. You're the best around. Okay, bye.